Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest and greatest episode of the Loveable podcast. I'm Tyler.
I'm Josh.
And we are back at the Bachelor Party. We are back at the Trap House. We are back at the
Crackdown.
Crackdown.
For a late night session.
For a late night sesh. This is the latest night we've ever done the pod.
So usually we do the pod anywhere between 8 a.m. and I'd say maybe 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Usually they're the hours we do them between. Occasionally we do it at like 12 o'clock or 1. That's quite rare.
Yeah.
It is now 7:30 at night.
It is now 7:30 at night. Typically also we do it on a Saturday. Sometimes a Sunday, depending on my old schedule.
Yep.
Now it will always be a Saturday. Except for this Saturday, we lost track of time a little bit. Things had to change, bada. And now it's a Monday night.
Monday night. We just finished work. All the way from the city.
Yeah.
I
finished at 6. It is currently 7:30.
I got home at 6.
Yep.
So it's a bit all over the place. But I messaged you and I was like, do you want to come through on a Monday? We'll do an episode. Quick episode.
Yeah.
Usually you will see like our last few, they've probably been about an hour, which has been quite good actually.
Yeah, I love that length for us.
This will probably be half hour or something.
Yeah.
We're exhausted.
There's also not too much to recap. Couple of things to say for each series. We'll make predictions. And then next week, we're probably going to be talking about the finals matchup.
Yeah, it's weird to think about, actually. I didn't think about that up until you mentioned that.
This will be our last week to talk about these conference matchups, which is fine.
Does it feel like the playoffs have gone really quick?
It's how it always goes. Like the first round feels like it goes for a while because there's so many games.
Yeah.
But the games, there's less and less. And now it's just gone like that.
It's gone, God, conference finals are going to be over very soon.
Very, very soon.
Actually. So the conference finals, which one are you enjoying more right now? Where's your heart?
West.
The West. Okay, so it's hard,
West.
right?
West.
I think the East it's cool because you've got the underdog of the year in Atlanta and Trae Young and what those boys are doing. But then obviously Chris Paul might make his first, finals appearance and win his first chip, deservedly so.
Exactly.
But then you've also got the Clippers, their very first conference finals appearance ever, 50 years.
And without their best player.
Yeah. Speaking of that, and I guess we'll start with the Clippers versus Phoenix thing. Did you see the comment that Paul George made about Kawhi Leonard being injured and not sure if he's going to be there for Game 5?
No, I didn't.
It feels like, and I'll paraphrase, it was like, how important is it you guys get Kawhi Leonard there for Game 5 and 6 and however many games you need him there for? And Paul George, paraphrasing, was something along the lines and very adamantly was, if he's injured and he's not 100%, we don't want him on the court. We want him to rest up. That's our brother. We want him to take care of himself. Okay. It's our job to take care of the court when he's not here. And great motto. Yeah. Great brotherhood there by Paul George. That's the best thing you could have said. But it also, the very first thing, like after hearing that, what's the first thing that comes to your mind, if anything?
He's not playing this season. He's not playing the rest of the playoffs.
The very first thing that popped in my mind was San Antonio and how poorly they went about Kawhi Leonard's injury.
Yeah.
This feels like the polar opposite of how they handled that. I remember hearing rumors when Kawhi Leonard was injured and it was like, is he injured? Is he not injured? Tony Parker and some other guys were like, I've come back quicker from this injury. That was a really weird thing to say, admittedly, by Tony Parker. A lot of other guys were really just kind of throwing shade his way. And it's the complete opposite with what Paul George just said. So it feels like they're taking that into consideration
100%
when factoring in how Kawhi Leonard feels, because he is the best player on the court. Arguably
when he wants to be.
And that was just real cool to see about Paul George and just really interesting because I feel like there is a bit of weight to that. They really don't want to repeat what they did. And they know Kawhi Leonard is in control of his contract.
Yeah.
He's not 100%. One of those guys that it's like, I'm a restricted free agent. I've got to get what I can get.
Exactly.
Kawhi Leonard
no,
gets what he wants.
He can pick and choose. He's that good of a player where he can pick and choose.
Absolutely. So that was one of the cool things.
100%.
But yeah, so have you watched any of the Clippers and Phoenix
So I've been watching highlights. Usually when I get to my lunch break, it's like the game's done. So I'll watch the highlights of the game.
Yeah.
And obviously this was Game 4 yesterday. Game 4 yesterday.
Yeah,
right?
Game 4.
It's 3-1.
3-1 Phoenix way.
Yep. The one that's in my memory the most is yesterday's game because I watched highlights most recently. Chris Paul and Devin Booker did not play well, did not shoot well. It was a very low scoring game. It was like in the 80s, I think.
Yep. Yeah. It was really, really low.
The best player on the court for the Suns was DeAndre Ayton.
he's so good.
He's such a bully.
so
He
good.
bullies
Yeah.
Zubac so much.
Yep.
What can I say? Chris Paul was out the first 2 games.
He shot like 6 from 24 or something.
He hasn't played well since he's come back.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say, oh, Chris Paul, because he wasn't injured. He didn't come back from an injury. He came back from
COVID
COVID protocol.
Yeah.
So Clippers have good defense. Maybe they're just making life difficult for him.
Yeah, and I think so. Like they do have a lot of bulldogs on the perimeter.
Exactly. Even Booker hasn't played well since that game 1 because guess what? Clippers are a great defensive team.
And I want to give credit to Ty Lue and how experienced this squad is in general. You know, and they're hungrier than anyone if anyone is even on that level. You know, very first playoff appearance, they're without their absolute superstar of a player. Everyone's got to shoulder that load, and Ty Lue is very familiar with how to go about rotations
deep in the playoffs
and things deep in the playoffs. And Chris Paul's got his work cut out for him. You know, we love or hate Chris Paul. You know, I've got mixed feelings sometimes, but he is one of the best point guards we're ever going to see. But I'm not here thinking that he's going to breeze through the conference finals.
Heck no.
He's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, 100%.
So I anticipate these kind of games. He's going to bounce back for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm going to see another 6 for 24 or whatever it was.
No,
game.
no.
I remember I was watching that with my friend Sunday. I was waiting for her, and then I was it was real close. Real close. And then she's never watched a basketball game before.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was real cool trying to teach her all the ins and outs and why they're doing certain things and why it's become a free throw game, which is never fun, but it's always interesting.
It's part of the game.
One of my favorite things as well, Adam, shout out to you. Whenever Paul George fucks up, it's always playoff P in full effect. And I love it.
He didn't text me this time, but he texted me last time. And I'm like, whenever Paul George fucks up a free throw, whenever he fucks up in the clutch, I know Adam's going to be on it.
Oh, absolutely. Like, that's the first man on Paul George's ass, right?
It's always Adam. When Paul George walks down an alleyway, he sees Adam Brenson at the end of the alleyway.
But yeah, Paul George has been...
Is it weird to think that, like, when we think of Adam, because he's like 6'3", right? And Paul George would tower over him.
It's crazy to think about. Like, even, what was it? Darren in high school, 6'4", 6'5"?
Yeah.
Towered over all of us, but still, that's like to some people, an undersized guard, very undersized 3 guard. Or forward, sorry, for sure.
That's wild.
Absolutely insane how huge these players are. Which also, like, I remember when my friend and I were watching Chris Paul go out, like he had some crazy plays, and he obviously looks like the smallest guy on the court. She was astounded by how Chris Paul maneuvered through these big guys. And that's something that I think will always be an astounding thing for me and you and everyone watching, like these guys like Trae Young and Chris Paul and Steve Nash, how they're like 6 foot to 6'3" tops.
Yeah.
Somehow weaving through these guys, which are like 7 foot.
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges, who's got wingspan. She noticed that as well.
Yeah. His long, crazy arms.
I was like, have you noticed that guy's arms? Like, yeah, what the fuck's up with that?
Man can pick a penny up off the floor while standing.
It is crazy. Like, I was watching him run next to Ayton. Ayton's like 7 foot, and Mikal Bridges' arms were longer than his.
It's wild.
Insane.
It's wild. He's built for sport.
Oh, yeah, he's an athlete,
so
for sure.
So game 4 just happened. Suns are up 3-1.
3-1, very, very close game. Very good game to watch, despite, some players...
All their games have been really good.
Really, really good. Do you anticipate this series to go any further, or do you think it's going to be closed out?
Suns in 6.
Suns in 6. I think I agree with you. I can see it potentially going 7, just purely for the fact that this Phoenix squad is very inexperienced, whereas it's the opposite for this Clippers team.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I know the Clippers haven't made it past the second round, really.
But you look at Pat Bev, you look at Marcus
staff.
Morris, you look at Paul George, you look at the coaching staff. We'll talk about the coaching staff briefly later. But like, I see Clippers in 6. I don't think they'll do 7. For me, it was 5 or 6.
Clippers in 6?
Oh no, sorry, Suns in 6.
Okay,
Suns in 6. Sorry.
It's
late night. It's late night. Yeah, Suns in 6.
I think Suns in 6. I can see it potentially going to 7, but my heart's not there for it.
Like, I could see Paul George going off for one game and bringing him back, but How long? How much longer can he do it?
It was. Oh, did you see Mark Jackson apparently made a flub on live?
What did he say?
TV? He was talking about because if you're unaware, Devin Booker fouled out that game quite early. And so a lot of the camera work was just him on the bench. Mm-hmm. And Mark Jackson was like, shout out to Monty Williams for, benching him and not letting him foul out, not knowing he already did foul out. Mark Jackson is a freaking goober, man. There's been quite a few flubs.
Privilege some players get.
Not a flub, but a weird thing as well. When we were watching the Milwaukee and Atlanta game, the absolute blowout, and we have to talk about it because it was really disappointing to have you guys over, and that was the game we saw. That was meant to be Marv Albert's last.
I've noticed him commentating a few other games. You liar.
No, I'm not lying. There was a whole thing. Reggie Miller had a whole thing with him. Turns out everyone apparently didn't actually know when he was his last game.
He just showed up to work.
Apparently this is his last series. Not last game, and everyone misinterpreted that as the last game. Apparently,
last series or last year.
This is his last series that he's doing, and then he's done.
Who is he not going to commentate the finals?
No, apparently not.
But then I don't know. Why would you jump out after a series when the next series is the finals?
That's what I don't get. Is
man's just going to show up to work and say, "I'm still here."
Yeah, and who's gonna stop him?
Exactly,
it's Marv Albert, right? The man that ate out his wife on live air.
That is not been confirmed. Man's eating an apple out of fucking mailbox. But interesting. So we're saying Suns in 6.
Suns in 6. I can see it. I just can't, especially without Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, when, like you said, when he really, really wants it, I don't see any guy really stopping him.
No.
Which is really weird to see him become this weird offensive efficient threat.
Yeah.
Because the big question mark with Kawhi Leonard when he was going from San Antonio before the Toronto destination, it was like, what is he worth?
Yeah.
And teams were obviously betting big because he was a finals MVP.
What's his offensive ceiling? Because he was known as like a defensive stopper, defensive juggernaut. But like, how much can he elevate a team offensively?
He wasn't a great 3-point. Well, I'm not saying he was bad, but he wasn't known.
He wasn't a great. He wasn't known to be a shot creator. He could get to his spots, but he needed help.
Out of nowhere,
he's like, nah.
One of the best shot creators in the league.
I'm just gonna turn it on and hit them all.
Absolutely insane.
Mid-range dynamo.
Yeah, it's insane what he does. Isn't he the most efficient fourth quarter scorer in the league right now?
We'll talk about another one of them very soon. Yeah. Mid-range dynamo who's popped off in the fourth quarter. But yeah.
Oh yeah, we got to touch on that today.
One of our boys, even though he's probably not he's too good to be a boy.
Look, let's talk about him. He is definitely too good to be a boy.
So yeah, just to recap, Suns in 6, going to the NBA Finals.
You can quote the low block. Suns
quote
in 6,
the block.
That's what I see.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton is where we're going to go.
Ooh, Chris Middleton.
38 points, 20 points
career
in the fourth
high.
quarter. Outscored the entire Atlanta squad 17-20 in the fourth quarter.
And we've praised Chris Middleton for a long time.
And I will never stop.
He is and he's gotten a lot of shit, but he's an amazing 3-level scorer and he's an amazing shot creator, especially from the mid-range.
Yep.
He's a sniper from that mid-range.
Chris Middleton, and I realized after this, 38 points is a phenomenal game. He's the reason they won this game, because Atlanta otherwise I think would have had it in the bag.
I think so.
Because Trae Young was going off, which we've got to talk about as well. But Chris Middleton, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it's just a me thing, I'm not surprised by 38 points, but I'm also not surprised if he scores 9 points. Like, is that just me?
Okay, I'm surprised by 38. I wouldn't be surprised by 30. I wouldn't be surprised by 9.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, Chris Middleton's one of those guys that he scores whatever he wants to score on a game, and I'm not surprised either way. Like, I've seen games where he goes absolutely insane and takes over, and I feel like every game where he takes over, they win.
Yep.
You know? But then there are games where he is abysmal offensively and is predominantly the reason they lost because he's not going.
And like part of it, like, you know, it obviously is Giannis the best player on the team, but Chris Middleton is the backbone of that team.
I think Chris Middleton is the deciding factor. Not Middleton. Giannis is always there, always consistent, always 30 and 15, whatever it is that you want. 38 and 20 if you want. You're always going to get a phenomenal game from Giannis. I haven't seen him have a really bad game in a very long time. but then you also need the second guy to show up, and that's all on Giannis. Not Giannis, on Middleton. You know, if Middleton's going to step up with Giannis, you've got the game in the bag.
They're unstoppable.
If he's not going to show up, and Drew Holiday's not going to show up, and Brook Lopez isn't clicking offensively, you're going to lose. You know, and I think that's the biggest thing that we're seeing throughout these playoffs. They look unstoppable when Chris Middleton is playing great, because Giannis is already playing great.
When Middleton is playing his game, he looks like KD.
It really does, yeah.
Like this just mid-range sniper who can create any shot he wants. He's a good three-point shooter, pick and roll. You can't stop him.
He really is a jack of all trades.
He's so good. We've been praising him for a while too.
Like I said, like I shouldn't. If I watch KD play, he gets 9 points. I am shocked.
Yeah, but
where is the 30-point game,
yeah.
KD? But if Middleton does it, I'm like, yeah, that's just a Middleton game sometimes.
Yeah, he'll bounce back next game for 35.
Yeah, and it's I feel like, you know, more than we can slander Bud all we want and Drew Holiday for not having, he's playing like Bledsoe at this point, really. But Middleton really needs to get that consistency. It's similar to what we spoke about with Jamal Murray in Denver.
Yeah.
You know, once Jamal Murray can really get going like a consistent 20 to 23 points per game, that team's clicking offensively.
It's when, like, for the younger guys, a lot of the time, it's weaponizing their talents. Yeah. For Middleton right now, and for Jamal, it's weaponizing it consistently.
Absolutely.
And it's weird because Middleton looks so polished when he does a sidestep, when he crosses over, when he has the ball in his hand, he looks like he knows what he's doing 100% of the time. And maybe I need to watch more Bucks games where they lose when Middleton doesn't play well, because I need to know why he doesn't score 25 a night.
Yeah, and it could be a Bud system thing. Like, we know the Bud system offensively isn't great, and it seems to me that Middleton does need a proper system in place for the most part. You know, he can ISO and whatnot, but he's not the best ISO player, I don't think. So there could be a lot of things and variables deciding those factors. But the fact of the matter is, like, a lot of these teams, when you've got, you know, with the Lakers, you're always going to get a good game from LeBron and Anthony Davis for the most part. And it's on the role players at that point to make sure everything else is clicking, making sure the defense is locked down so your two players can get going. That's the one inconsistency with the Bucks, is you've got 1.5 players consistently always on. You've got Giannis all the time, but then you've got Middleton half the time. That's the only thing. That's the same thing with Denver. Jokic didn't miss a damn game this year.
Yeah.
Every game bringing MVP caliber style of basketball. And I know Jamal Murray was out this year for a lot of it, but it still would have had a great game, then a bad game, and a great game and a bad game. And it's going to be, once those, like, if you can just get Jamal Murray to 20 points, MPJ is that guy that's going to be that deciding factor. Yeah, right? 100%. He's going to be, if he's going off for 18, 20 points, I don't see a reason why you guys would lose.
Exactly.
You know, it's crazy.
Consistency is key.
Absolutely. And that's what I think also Atlanta are trying to work out. John Collins didn't have a great game. I didn't get to what I watched all the highlights and some lowlights. But John Collins didn't play too much, and I don't know why that was. I've got to go back and watch it.
I watched fourth quarter highlights at work on my lunch break. It was all I got to watch. And yeah, I couldn't see too much from the Atlanta side. Again, it's fourth quarter highlights. It was all Chris Middleton. It was all the moment Giannis touched the ball, he passed it to Chris Middleton because they knew they were going to foul Giannis. But I haven't got to watch the full game.
Yeah, because no one else besides Trae Young, who really had a phenomenal bounce back game. He went from 15 points to 35 points. I watched all of his highlights this game, and he was insane. They really are, and you, Adam, and I spoke about this, where the Bucks' brand of basketball defensively against Atlanta is really drop. Yeah. And hope to God this 40-foot shot doesn't go in from Trae. And that's all you can do. And it was one of those nights where, no, they're going in. Trae wants them to go in.
It's hard to watch drop coverage against Trae, but that's the best thing for them to do. Yeah. Like, every time I watch and I see Bobby Portis drop coverage, I'm like, it hurts my soul, but it might be the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. Like, Trae Young, as soon as he gets towards that paint, he has two things that he has weaponized at an elite level, which is so much higher than what I saw with James Harden. And that's an immense compliment. That's not a knock on James Harden. This is a praise to Trae Young. is the fact that his floater is one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like there are countless times this game where Trae Young had someone on him. It looked like it was going to get blocked, but that floater is just so nice. It's nothing but net. It's insane.
It's very clean.
And the other thing is, if you're going for that, you've got Capella and John Collins, two athletic big guys that just rim run and know exactly where to be to catch his lobs. It's insane. So it's either like you let him shoot the 40-point shot or you go over the screen. Now you've got two different things to worry about, his floater or his lobs. And it's insane what one player does to a defensive scheme.
Harden never had the floater that Trae Young has.
Yeah.
And that really limited Harden to inside or outside.
Yeah.
But now Trae has three options. He's now a 3-level scorer because he doesn't have a mid-range pull-up, but he has a floater, which is essentially the same thing.
It's crazy seeing him.
And the two best
from the mid.
floaters in the league, Trae Young and Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
And it's wild how they just both weaponize that floater so well.
Two young guys, somehow it's absolutely insane. Like even when we talk about James Harden, is if he would drive towards the rim, generally it's looking for a foul or a lob, but he didn't use the lob too well. That's why I think Trae Young and Capella are a much better matchup than Capella and Harden. But generally, Harden's looking for the foul because he's a phenomenal free throw shooter.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's his brand of basketball.
That's his basketball.
But the thing I love about Trae Young, and I think a big reason why they've gotten so far to where they were from the 11th seed to this, is because this really gets the team going. When Trae drives, it's either he's going to try and make a bucket or he's trying to get you a bucket. And I know he draws fouls a lot of the time. But when he's driving, it never seems that way. It seems like he's really trying to make something work here, but the perimeter game's a bit different, and that's fine. He's kind of mastered all the things he wants to master offensively, and it's crazy to see him do that in such a short amount of time.
Very much so, yeah.
All there is now, in my opinion, is how is John Collins going to develop? How is Bogdanovic going to develop? How are these other rooks that you got like Hunter and
Kevin Huerter.
And Huerter, he's been really, really good these playoffs. How are these guys going to develop? Because you just need one or two more to get another push. Because, and this was a thing that Pippen said, which I think every, generic basketball fan, you and I included, would disagree with, saying that LeBron has won a chip with no help whatsoever, and everyone else has had to have help. That makes no sense to me.
That makes no sense.
Pippen sometimes feels like
the delusion.
Something. Yeah, very delusional sometimes. But
there is no single player who has ever won a ring.
Never. And
It's a team thing.
It's the same thing with this Atlanta squad. Right now, it really is just Trae Young. John Collins is really nice, and some of the things
in the games they win, their team shows up more.
Yeah.
But when they lose, you can really see the weaknesses of that team.
It's similar to Utah.
Yeah.
You see Donovan Mitchell really play this Trae Young role, but no one else is bringing it, and generally that's why they lose. The thing I love about John Collins that I've learned this postseason, and I don't think I would have learned it otherwise because now they've got the limelight, is the praise that his teammates and Monty Williams gives him to say, he knows... not Monty Williams, sorry. Nate McMillan. They say that, he knows he's up for a really big deal. He knows he's super confident, but we've never heard a single argument from him.
That's true.
We've never heard him lash out to anyone about not getting touches, not getting enough time. He knows his role. He knows he's very good at what he does, and that is all we want from him. And
then he'll get the bag from that.
And that's it's the opposite to Buddy Hield.
Yeah.
It's a big reason why I think this team's winning is it's not the fact that, he needs to do 20, 25 points a game and 10, 12 rebounds. It's the fact that he knows when he's going to get his touches, and when he gets his touches, you see him have a great game.
It feels like everyone's aboard the same, like everyone's going in the same direction. Everyone's aboard the same train to the same spot of the finals.
The gay for Trae train.
Gay for Trae train.
And we're all on it, man. We're all gay for Trae. I love it.
So it's what it feels like. Because if they were in a worse situation and he was barking out, I need my touches, I need my points, I need my whatevers, it would cause issues. But it seems like everyone is on the same path of we want to win.
Absolutely.
Money will come if the wins come.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Because if the team's working, people are going to get paid.
Exactly.
You know, and I feel like everyone understands that. Obviously,
Everyone should understand that.
Everyone should. And it feels like, you know, obviously I'm not in the Atlanta locker room, but everything I'm hearing and everything I'm seeing, there is no drama.
No.
At all. Everyone wants the same damn thing. And you can see, you've seen tensions with Milwaukee. That's why they've made moves. You've seen tensions with, you know, Devin Booker before he made it this far. He was really frustrated with where they were. I haven't heard any, like, we heard little rumblings with Trae Young. And then as soon as there was slight, you know, progress, everyone just was silent. Yeah. Everyone came, and then they let all their shit talking on the court. Trae Young is one of the coolest shit talkers in the league right now. He is.
What makes a cool shit talker?
I think embracing what you are. It's the one reason why I never got on board with James Harden. He plays a very dislikable brand of basketball.
But you didn't like him not agreeing that he was the villain?
Yeah, I kind of like just like, admittedly, Trae Young's brand of basketball can be quite gross. You know, he draws a lot of fouls. He lives by the 3-point line. A lot of the other stuff he does is really cool, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. Usually it's not mine. But the fact he relishes in, I want this shit. I don't care if you love me or not. Hate me, I don't care. I'm still balling out and my team's going to love me for it.
Gotcha.
James Harden I would have loved to see him like just this big, doesn't even have to be angry. I just love to see him a bit more cocky on the court because he is an immense talent.
It feels like sometimes he did it and sometimes he didn't. Like you'd see it sometimes. Yeah. Again, inconsistency. Yeah, like sometimes he would shit talk, sometimes he would do a little shimmy, sometimes he'd do this, but it wasn't all the time. And he could have done it more because it didn't matter.
I know it's a trivial thing. You know, this isn't going to make or break his case for Hall of Famer as a Hall of Famer.
No. It just depends on how much you personally like a player.
Like I think these personalities are what shape the NBA. You know, mean mugging Bron was scary. You know, jersey biting Kobe's scary. You know, a lot of these guys,
these little character traits.
Yeah, even Giannis, when he's puffing his chest, he's a scary dude. Yeah, and you see this little guy. I say little, he's a lot bigger than me, but compared to everyone else, Trae Young is a little dude on the court.
What, 6'1"?
6'1", I'd say.
Yeah,
6'1", 6'2". But he loves it. He loves it. And that's the coolest thing about this team. Not only are they underdogs, they have such a lovable villain. And they've done this in one postseason. They've really given themselves an identity. Because I
didn't think they'd make it this far.
No.
I called 76ers last week.
And you're not wrong for calling it. You know, Atlanta aren't meant to be here.
Yeah, they're not meant. They were meant to make the playoffs, but they weren't meant to make it this far.
No, not at all. And you know, if they don't make it any further than this, congratulations, Atlanta.
Yeah, great job.
You have been the biggest surprise. this year. I just can't look past
I still say
Atlanta.
Phoenix, but yeah, like I understand.
Phoenix has been absolutely wild. But they've been insane. But
all that said, Bucks in 6.
Yeah, it really is.
Because from the moment you started talking about Hawks, you were like, if they go home, good job. Like, you know in your heart, Bucks are taking this series.
Yeah, like I can see Atlanta winning, but my heart doesn't say it. Like, it's the same thing with the Clippers. I can still see the Clippers winning just due to more experience. Mm-hmm. But my heart says this Phoenix squad's too damn good. Ayton anchors this team way too well. Chris Paul's too damn smart. Devin Booker's too good of a scorer. They're just too good to lose this up 3-1. No way. They're not Doc Rivers. No way.
And what is the Milwaukee Atlantis? Is that 3-1 as well?
2-1.
2-1?
1-1. 2-1. Yeah, 2-1.
Bucks in 5.
Today. That was game 3.
Bucks in 5.
I can see Atlanta taking one more game. Like my heart says one more game. They'll probably take their next home game.
Sure, they are good at more than anything. They are good at home.
Like, this was a damn close game. It really was just Middleton. I said it before. Middleton was the reason they won. If Middleton had 20 points, Atlanta go home with a win.
Yeah.
You know, and
but he cooked them for 38.
That's a big compliment to Atlanta. The fact that Middleton
100%.
doesn't have a bad game and you still win, but the fact he had a great game is the reason why you lost. You can't have both Giannis and Middleton having great games,
because then it's so tough. It's against that defense.
It's too tough, man. Like, I'll go through. Who do you think was the second leading scorer on Atlanta for this game?
Kevin Huerter.
Kevin Hurd had 11 points, but no, it was Gallinari with 18.
I forgot Gallo's on that team. Fucking love Gallo.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
John Collins,
Because
13
Gallo
points.
is 6'10" and gets to his spots when he wants.
6'10", shot creator, can play the small forward if he wants.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's such a good role player.
It's such an oddity. Like it really feels like I'm not comparing him to Ginobili because Ginobili is probably the best. He is the best six man.
He's the best 6 man of all time.
But he was such an oddity where you get everything out of Ginobili.
Yeah.
And I mean everything in the way he's your facilitator.
He's your facilitator, he's your passer, he's your
Yeah.
defender, he's your scorer, he's your 3-level scorer.
Yeah, usually you don't get that.
Gallo on offensive end, he can do it all.
He's an oddity in the way where it's like you're coming onto the court against my guys, and I don't know how to handle that. It's the same thing with Ginobili. Ginobili comes on the court, and the defense is like, I don't know how to handle this right now. It's too much.
He can, in any scheme, he can fit in. And it's the same with Gallo.
Yep. It's the same thing with Gallo. It's really insane. So it's a good game. Obviously, 35 points for Trae Young is the highlight. But then it was Gallinari with 18, John Collins with 13, and Herter with 11. That's not good enough when you've got the Bucks with 33 and 11 from Giannis, 38 and 11 from Middleton. Like that's enough. And 15 from Portis for some reason. You know, that's better than what Collins played.
BP.
You know, it's 15
I just
points in 17 minutes.
One thing we're not
by
talking
the way.
about, Middleton's 11 assists, sorry.
No, he had 7 assists, 11 rebounds.
Oh, it was 11 rebounds. Sorry, I thought it was
Still
11
7
assists.
is really good.
He's a really good passer out of the pick and roll.
Yep.
And it's something that doesn't get talked about too much. He's a really good pick and roll ball handler, which is a great option to have when they don't really need it.
It's crazy because Middleton he'd be getting these numbers if he was on any other team. I'm so confident in saying we'd still be seeing this Middleton on any other team, but we wouldn't be hearing about it otherwise because he's playing with Giannis. Giannis is the one that brought that spotlight, and I'm thankful for the fact that now I get to see Middleton play because otherwise
100%.
it'd just be one of those guys that play great
Big numbers on a bad team.
on a bad team and I don't get to hear about it.
Yeah, but now we get to see him deep in the playoff and he can still do it.
He can still do it. He just needs to keep it up. I'm happy with either of these teams winning, but I would love more than anything Atlanta for the chip, baby. Like
Not
that's
going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
You think
But that's the
this-
ultimate underdog. Like
I know,
don't
I
think
know.
ever in the history of the league since counting All Stars, I don't think there's been a championship team with 0 All Stars selections for that year. I don't think that's ever happened.
Detroit Pistons.
You don't think they had an All Star?
I don't think so. I think it was the year after. Maybe Ben Wallace, but it was
I'll
the
have to
year
check.
after where they had 4 out of the 5 starters.
I'll have to check.
So that
I
would have been
remember it was
2003 All-Star. That would have been the last time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let's say Atlanta win this series. Scrape it out in 7 games. Do you think they're touching Phoenix?
No, they're not touching Phoenix. But I'm
You
here
keep
for-
looking. You keep looking. That was a rhetorical question. But yeah, like this, like Atlanta's the underdog of the 2 series right now.
Yep.
They weren't the underdog of the playoffs. I'd say that's New York because they weren't meant to make it.
Ben Wallace made the All Star game.
Okay, yeah.
So technically,
Yeah,
you know.
But apart from them, it's like they've been one of the biggest underdog champs of the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And then if Atlanta did it, if they're not going to, if they did, they would be as well.
But it can happen, man.
It could, yes.
It's the weird thing, like when Orlando, were versus in the playoffs,
Yeah.
at the 8th seed, and DJ Augustine led them to the first game win. It still wasn't what if. It was still all right. You took one game, but you're gonna lose.
That was against Toronto.
Yeah, and it was like you're still gonna lose.
Yeah, but they snuck out a win.
The fact it's still if they make it.
I forgot about that. I completely forgot about
right.
DJ Augustine.
I'm never gonna forget about
taking that
DJ.
team to a game 1 win.
But the fact, like I think it is in the realm of possibility that Trae Young and Atlanta can pull it out. That's all I'm saying.
It could happen.
Before we move on, because we can talk about Trae and Chris Middleton, and our love for them for hours and hours and hours, but we don't need to. Have you heard about all the drama with Portland?
Yes. So this is what I was talking about. So it's been announced that Chauncey Billups is the new head coach.
5-year deal.
5-year deal. I'm glad he's getting a head coaching role. He's a smart player. He's a good leader. I wish him the best. Do I think it's a good choice? Not really.
No, I don't think so.
Not for a team that wants to contend. You want a brand new head coach. And yes, you could say, oh, Steve Nash is a brand new head coach. But, well, that's a bit different.
Players right
That's
now.
a bit
It's
different. And in a team where, like, Dame's your best player, CJ is potentially on the trading block, and he's your second best player. You've been riddled by injuries over the past few years. Dame wants to win now, and there's, some rumors about Dame's, do I want to leave?
It came since firing Stotts. It really is. Oh no! Did we just mess up? Are we losing Dame?
Yeah, because Stotts was very close with a lot of players, but it was pretty much accepted it was Stotts' time to leave.
Yeah,
because Stotts is a good coach. Is he a great coach? We said it before. Stotts is a good coach. Is he a great coach? No. Is he a playoff championship coach? No.
He's good enough to get you to the second round.
Yes.
He's not good enough to get you beyond that.
Yeah, and is this team as constructed currently good enough to get you further than second round? I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe not with CJ as the second best player, but we'll see how that goes. But now Dame's thinking like, oh, I don't know. I don't really like some of the head office guys. I don't really like the way they've made the players feel. What if Dame leaves?
And it can happen.
What do you do? Do you rebuild? Yes.
Like we just saw this with Westbrook out of nowhere, just gone.
Yeah.
Wanted a trade. And he was really one of those guys with Steph. It was like, I don't see these guys ever leaving their teams. And Westbrook did, or like out of nowhere. And I can see that happening with Dame. This situation's been handled so poorly. And, part of it is on Dame as well. Him coming out right away saying, Jason Kidd's the man I want.
Yeah.
Have you ever, when's the last time you, like maybe Kyrie?
We talked about this.
Maybe Kyrie when he was like, he wasn't a fan of Kenny Atkinson.
Yeah.
He wanted someone else. Like it's odd. Don't do that. Don't publicly say who you want and who you don't want. It's weird. That's for the front office to decide.
Yeah, that's as a player, that's not your thing.
Like I love Dame, and
I also think Kenny Atkinson could have done just as good a job as Steve Nash this season.
I agree with you.
And we both like Steve Nash, and we both like him as a head coach.
Kenny Atkinson was fine.
Kenny Atkinson's a good coach.
Yeah,
he's a good fucking coach.
Yeah, I think the only difference is can Kenny Atkinson deal with
those three egos,
personalities on those teams? That's a whole different.
That's
beast.
a different ballgame.
Yeah,
but if Dame leaves,
yeah, so
you rebuild, right?
Yeah, and then so the issue, Chauncey Billups, his talent isn't the issue really. It's the allegations that came with it, the sexual assault allegations. What was it, like 27 women or something? From 1997 or something like that, by the way.
Yeah.
It was like not a Luke Walton where it's recent.
Yeah, this is like his rookie year or something.
Yeah, very, very different. And it sucks that that's brought to light because I'm sure, obviously, Chauncey's not that now.
And I'm pretty sure this was all fixed back then. This was all sorted back then. Everyone has moved past this in their lives and it's now being brought back up.
Yeah. Everyone will forget about it, if unless he's, found guilty or whatever. But we'll move on from it.
I'm pretty sure it was all sorted. Like innocent.
That's what I thought.
Right? And it's not like we're trying to make light of sexual allegations.
No,
it's if something was sorted back then, it was sorted back then. Don't need to bring it up over 20 years later.
That's exactly right. I don't like. It's the same thing with James Gunn, the director for those Marvel films and whatnot, and he made like a tweet like 10 years ago, which was questionable. And obviously he'd changed since then, and people brought it up 10 years later. It was like, no, this is the real James Gunn. And he almost lost his career because of it. I don't like that stuff. If this, I'm with you. I'm confident this was dealt with. If it hasn't been, sure, it's cool to look into it, but don't instantly
write him off for the rest of his life because of it. If this hasn't been dealt with, bring it up. If for whatever reason, bring it up and deal with it. But that doesn't mean he shouldn't have a life.
Yeah.
Because of it.
Yeah, there was a thing recently, and it's not basketball related, but it's something which I feel was very important for people to understand. There's one of the very popular YouTuber who was around in our time, still very popular now. I can't remember his name, but he does like vlogs and stuff. Vlogman, sure, let's call him Vlogman. He's a white man, brunette, very generic, but he's very popular.
you just like, that's a Caucasian guy.
Yeah, it's just a Caucasian, but he's very popular. He does vlogs and stuff. And I think this was like a month or two ago. And his career was almost halted immediately because a woman came out and leaked all this stuff, conversations and photos between the two. saying that she was a minor and that he was trying to sleep with her and whatnot. Very gross stuff. And, his career was halted at that point, and he was going to, potentially get convicted and go to prison and or whatever it may be in the US. And then it came out a week later. Oh, she was lying. None of this is true. And his career was put in jeopardy because of that. This is why I feel it's very important, whether it's this Billups situation or not, even for this Luke Walton thing, which happened a year ago. Just because someone's come out and said that you've done something horrific or whatnot, please don't bewitch the person right away.
Allegations hold a lot of power.
Yes.
Possibly too much.
Yeah.
Because the person who will throw out these allegations is in full control.
Yeah. And that's often enough to damage someone's career.
Yeah,
and image
just an
enough,
allegation.
right?
Whether it's proven false or true, it doesn't matter. An allegation can ruin a career.
And that's why this really irks me the wrong way. Because I like Billups as a player, as a person. He's never, done anything to really piss me off as a fan. He's just been a phenomenal point guard, Hall of Fame point guard, champion. And for this, in 1997, for this thing to be brought back up after we think it's been dealt with, just to kind of belittle him, it's just kind of gross. So I'm glad to see it happen.
Small tangent.
I'm glad to see him he get a 5-year head coaching gig.
Yeah.
He's deservedly so. But then again, back to basketball talk. I don't know if it's the right fit.
I don't know if it's the right fit on a team that wants to contend. And look, maybe it is and we're wrong and good. Great. I hope it all works. But at the same time, you're running out of time with Dame.
Yeah,
and
make something quick.
I don't want to say it's go time, but there's a clock over everyone's head in the league. Even the best players in the world sometimes make it 12 years.
Yep.
Right? Not a lot make it 15. Some don't make it 10. An injury can shorten a career and just like that.
Yep.
You never know. Dame's a great player. He's an MVP caliber player. Don't lose him.
Yeah, touching on that as well, and it might be one of the last things before we wrap up. One of the biggest distinctive things between what you just said, some will go 10, 12, 15 years. A lot of it is more, it's not so black and white where it's, you can be, Damian Lillard, one injury can set you back from a 15-year career to a 10-year career. It's also the fact that we see guys like David West, James Posey, Paul Millsap.
James Posey. I'm sick of James Posey.
I'm never sick of him.
It's the fucking James Posey podcast.
But the fact that these guys have prolonged careers, Kyle Korver, he was like 42 when he became an analyst at that point. It's these guys were never Damian Lillard. They were never, Brandon Roy at their peak. They were never these guys. But they trained for a role on a team.
Yeah.
And that's a really underrated thing, is to see people wonder, how is this placed in the league? Because from day one, they weren't meant to be a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah. They weren't meant to be a
How is
Kevin
PJ
Durant.
Tucker still playing thing? Right. Well, he knows his role and he's very good at it.
People how is 6'6" PJ Tucker still in the league? It's because he knows his role and that's all he trains to do.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a player coming in the league, if you're a kid watching, basketball at an early age, you can have a very prolonged career in anything for that matter, as long as you understand what you want to do and if you're okay with it.
Exactly. And sometimes lightning in a bottle happens. Sometimes the stars align and you ball out for a few years. But if you're not willing to go back down, you become Darren Williams.
Yep. That's the thing.
Right?
If Damian Lillard all of a sudden regresses, say Carmelo Anthony, all of a sudden just regresses. It's very hard for someone that has played 10 years at a starting position at an all-star level, and all of a sudden you've got to learn how to play from the bench. It doesn't happen that way. That's why Melo, it took a really big hit to his career, because that's a big adjustment period.
Took a couple of years, his confidence and his personal life. Eventually he's figured out, but that not everyone can do that. Not everyone can take a step back and say, I need to be different.
Yeah. And some people don't want to. Kobe was like, no, I'm done with it. He can average 20 points per game. I'm done with it. I'm okay. LeBron's going to be a similar thing. Once he feels like he's not at his peak, he's going to be done with it.
Yeah.
He's not going to go back to the bench. And that's just a like I said, it's an underrated thing to think about when we speak about these role players. Is the fact they're not training to be Damian Lillard.
No,
they're training for a spot.
Kyle
on the team.
Korver is training to be Kyle Korver.
Exactly, and he wants to play for 15 years.
And he fucking did it.
He did, and it happens.
Man played a long fucking time.
Yeah. So shout out to Kyle Korver for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kyle.
And Darren Williams when you were busting everyone's ass. Remember when Chris Paul used to get shit on by Darren Williams every single matchup?
So I shit you not, and this is especially for the youngins watching or listening. Go back. It was Darren Williams versus Chris Paul. They were the top 2 point guards in the league.
Yeah.
Darren Williams, Chris Paul. And I'm not joking at all. Darren Williams was a monster. And then I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened.
It's the stars aligned for him for a bit.
Because it was Utah, right?
Yeah. It was Chris Paul and Darren Williams, and then under it was Tony Parker, right? Then Tony Parker got older, he got worse and worse. Darren Williams fell off the face of the cliff, and Chris Paul stood alone.
Yep.
Others have come to meet him, but Darren Williams also used to bust Chris Paul's ass every meeting. Every time Utah and New Orleans Hornets back then played, Darren Williams would give Chris Paul like 30 and Chris Paul would have like 10 points. For whatever reason, he would just shit on Chris Paul. And then Darren Williams
was a scary dude, man.
His skill regressed a bit. I believe he played in Europe and China.
Yep. And then he went to the Cavs and got 0-point games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
So sometimes the stars unalign.
Yep.
Right? It happens. That could happen for Dame.
It's like an eclipse, it happens.
Exactly.
For that period of time, it's phenomenal, and then it goes.
Exactly. I'm not saying it will happen to Dame, but it could.
Yeah, it
could. It absolutely could.
Anything up, like we saw the same thing with Tracy McGrady, Brandon Roy. For a period of time, it was great.
They were injuries, right?
They were injuries, but it happens. We see
Penny Hardaway was injury riddled.
We can use Michael Carter Williams for this.
That
thing.
Was the stars line for a short amount of time,
he
but
came
they
out
did
the
align.
womb, and the
Jeremy
stars
Lin.
were beaming down on him.
Jeremy Lin. The stars aligned, and then they weren't.
Yep. It happens, man.
It happens.
And I'm trying to be thankful for everything I'm seeing in the league. That's
Amari Stoudemire.
Oh, I miss
the stars aligned. You have him. His name is John Collins.
He really is. These two are so damn similar. I love them both, man.
Okay. On the high note, we're going to wrap up. Slightly shorter episode. We probably rambled a bit too long, but that's fine. It's a late night episode of the pod. I want to get home. I'm fucking tired. I've had a long day. A shit day at work. My first shit day. Had a rough day.
Sucks, man.
It sucks, but it happens.
It's a Monday too, which is the worst.
Yeah. It's technically my Tuesday because I work Sundays.
Oh. Okay. All right. I feel.
It's a weird thing to think about.
You get Fridays, Saturdays off, right?
Yeah. Fridays every week. Okay. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for listening. If you made it through this far, thank you very, very much. It's the favorite part of our week every week. You should tell your friends to get your friends to tell their friends, and then we can be friends. Do this every weekend. We are on Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Hootsuite.
Fuck Hootsuite.
Fuck Hootsuite. Bro, I can't log into them.
You don't
I'll explain later. It's been a hassle. We are everywhere. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Thank you very much. Tell your friends, like, rate, subscribe. I love you all. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you for your service, Carl Porter.